ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai. Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Mona Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari 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 Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hari Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hari Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hari Krishna.
All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Namaste Sarasate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading and discussing Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. These chapters, the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and we're at text number 30.
অন্তরে বিস্মিত শচী বলিল তাহারে মাটি খাইতে জ্ঞান যোগ কে শিখালো তোরে।
Somebody has, there's some in the background, I don't know what that is, noise. You hear that?
Kirtan going on, so somebody can.
Okay. Astonished that the child was speaking Mayavad philosophy, Mother Shachi replied, "Who has taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies eating dirt?" Purport. In the philosophical discourse between the mother and the son, when the son said that everything is one, as impersonalists say, the mother replied, "If everything is one, why do people in general not eat dirt, but eat the food grains produced from the dirt?" Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I would like to ask for the blessings and permission of the seniors and all the devotees to be able to speak something for my benefit and yours, and for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. I was just going to make one comment here. So from the point of view that Lord Chaitanya as a child is speaking Mayavadi philosophy, in order to get his mother to refute that, we see that certain conclusions of the Mayavadi philosophy become crazy, ridiculous, absurd. So sometimes devotees would say, "Oh, if everything is one, then you're your money is the same as my money, so why don't I take your money, because it'll be still, everybody will have, it'll all be one. And that way you can give a donation to Krishna, right? So these beliefs have consequences. So somebody who actually believes that, if they're true to their beliefs, they would say, okay. But if not, then they're defeated. Does that make sense? So here, Lord Chaitanya is exhibiting this pastime to point out the impossibilities and mistakes of the Mayavad philosophy. And Srila Prabhupada will comment it further as we go. Text 31.
মাটির বিকার অন্ন খাইলে দেহ পুষ্টি হয়, মাটি খাইলে রোগ হয়, দেহ যায় ক্ষয়.
Replying to the Mayavad idea of the child philosopher, Mother Sachi said, "My dear boy, if we eat earth transformed into grain, our body is nourished and it becomes strong. But if we eat dirt in its crude state, the body becomes diseased instead of nourished, and thus it is destroyed."
মাটির বিকার ঘটে পানি ভরি আনি, মাটি পিণ্ডে ধরি যবে, শোষি যায় পানি.
In a water pot, which is a transformation of dirt, I can bring water very easily. But if I poured water on a lump of dirt, the lump would soak up the water and my labor would be useless. Purport. This simple philosophy, propounded by Sachimata, even though she is a woman, can defeat the Mayavadi philosophers who speculate on oneness. The defect of the Mayavad philosophy is that it does not accept the variety that is useful for practical purposes. Sachimata gave the example that although an earthen pot and a lump of dirt are basically one, for practical purposes, the water pot is useful, whereas the lump of dirt is useless. Sometimes scientists argue that matter and spirit are one, with no difference between them. Factually, in a higher sense, there is no difference between matter and spirit, but one should have the practical knowledge that matter, being an inferior state of existence, is useless for our spiritual blissful life. Whereas spirit, being a finer state, is full of bliss. In this connection, the Bhagavatam gives the example that dirt and fire are practically one and the same. From the earth grow trees, and from their wood come fire and smoke. Nevertheless, for heat, we can utilize the fire, but not the earth, smoke, or wood. Therefore, for the ultimate realization of the goal of life, we are concerned with the fire of the spirit, not the dull wood or earth of matter. So the basic point is that although all the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which are many, Parasya Shaktir Vividhai Vishruyate, Swabhavike Jnana Bhala Kriya Cha, there are many energies, and in one sense, because they're all energies of the Supreme, they're in that sense all one, but still within that oneness, there's a variety of existence and of purpose. Another example that Srila Prabhupada gives is that there are 9 holes on the body. And in one sense, so they're all holes, but if you try to eat through your ear, that won't be effective. You have to eat through the mouth, or not any other hole. So although there's varieties of energies, matter or just delving in matter does not help one make progress in spiritual life, but use of the spirit engaging in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord as a regular activity is beneficial for one's spiritual advancement. Comments, questions? Krishna Kirtan Prabhu usually have a comment. No? Okay. Text 33.
No, I had
I
actually.
thought so.
Yeah, thank you for this. And I was contemplating that why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would make Sachidevi to teach this.
Yes. So I gave the example last time. It's a similar way that when he was a child, he cried and he got the ladies to chant Hare Krishna. And when he was in South India on the banks of the Godavari, he inspired Ramananda Roy, even initially against his will, to speak on the high philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So right in the beginning, Lord Chaitanya was emphasizing in his interaction with his mother the importance of being able to distinguish between the Mayavadi philosophy and the Vaishnava philosophy. Sometimes people who are actual Mayavadis pose as Vaishnavas, devotees. And it's very important for us to be able to distinguish what is the nature of the Vaishnava, what is the philosophy of the Vaishnava philosophy, and distinguish it from the Mayavadi philosophy. What do you think, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
Yeah, that is very. It's a very educational, actually eye-opening statement. How everything is all the same. I don't know from where this concept is coming anyway. Maybe Shankaracharya has propounded that.
Yes. In fact, in most of the universities, or at least earlier, the principal ideas that were promulgated under the rubric or the name of Hindu philosophy was the Mayavad philosophy. So people would come to that generally thinking that, Mayavad philosophy or Hindu philosophy is, by definition, Mayavad philosophy. Some people say, there's some evidence that when the British were in the business of controlling and using India for their purposes, one of their analyses was that it was very difficult to control or overwhelm the Indian population with their Vaishnava beliefs. But by emphasizing and supporting the Mayavadi philosophy, that would give them the opportunity to have more control over the Indian population, because in Mayavadi philosophy, whatever you worship, you can worship this one, you can worship that one, whatever it's more nebulous. So it's easier to control the population with who are following a more Mayavad philosophy than a Vaishnava philosophy. I mean, people argue that. I don't know that Srila Prabhupada ever said that, but it makes sense. What do you think?
Up to some extent, we also accept this, right? As Achintya Veda, simultaneously one and different.
Yes.
So only thing, our problem is we don't accept this is the complete truth. Am I right?
Correct. Yes. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdyate. The full understanding of the absolute truth has those three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And on the Brahman level, yes, there is the oneness. We appreciate the oneness of everything. But go further. Good point. Thank you. Mother Shobharati has her hand up.
So how do the Mayavadis explain that verse, Brahmeti Paramatmeti? How do they explain that away?
They avoid Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh,
They focus, as we saw in the we read about Prakashananda Saraswati.
mm.
So they focus primarily on the interpretations of Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya. Sometimes, in some branches of Mayavadi philosophy, completely, or philosophers, they reject the Puranas and the Itihasas like Srimad Bhagavatam. Not all, but many of them do, saying that they're not actually Vedic. There was a prominent Mayavadi philosopher during the 19th century, Dayanand Saraswati, who was the founder of the Arya Samaj. And he openly declared, yeah, we reject all those, the Puranas, Itihasas, all those things, Srimad Bhagavatam, we reject because they're not Vedic. We only accept the 4 Vedas. Although in the Vedas, and they accept the Upanishads as they're parts of the Vedas. So, and some of the oldest Upanishads, it describes that the Itihasas and Puranas should be accepted as the 5th Veda, but they don't deal with that. So mostly they just ignore or reject it.
So that explains why they are always saying, or I've always heard, oh, those are stories.
Yes,
Bhagavatam
yes.
is always referred to as stories, and it is so difficult to convince them that it has happened, it is real, it's not a story.
Yes, so we, just like as the Gaudiyas, we accept the Vedanta Sutra a commentary as Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's the same author, but they reject. They don't accept that. But our understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, Ved Vyas in the very beginning says, Dharma projita kaitavota paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atasvastu shivaram tapate unmulatam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Padayarishwara. And in the 4th chapter, which we recently went through, maybe a few months ago, there's description that it's there that the Puranas and Itihasas are the 5th Veda, and the reference is given from the Upanishads there in that purport. So we cite that. They don't like that, but that's a fact. Brajesh Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all best of us. Prabhuji, like in the Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavat, is it like, the understanding special, but scripture said all of 3 of them is same, but just for the understanding of the person who can realize that Krishna means like it's a different level. This their understanding, their knowledge. Is it like true, Prabhuji?
They're all the same in the sense that they're all aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they're not the same in that with the Brahman, you can engage in devotional service to the Brahman. They're different aspects of the Supreme Lord, but the devotee focuses his or her attention on Bhagavan because you can serve. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, those things are in relation with Bhagavan, not in relation with the Brahman. So in one sense, they're the same. As Krishna Kirtan Prabhu nicely pointed out, they're nicely pointed out that they're one aspect of the Supreme, but they're not the full picture.
Okay, Prabhu,
Is that
thank
okay? Is that all right?
you. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Text 33.
আত্ম লুকাইতে প্রভু বলিলা তাহারে আগে কেন ইহা মাতা না শিখালে মোরে?
The Lord replied to his mother, why do you conceal self-realization? by not teaching me this practical philosophy in the beginning? If from the beginning of life, when it's taught the Vaishnava philosophy of duality or variety, the monistic philosophy will not bother him very much. In reality, everything is an emanation from the Supreme Source. Janmadyasya yata. You know where that's from? This Janmadyasya yata? Where is that from?
Bhagavatam first sloka.
Vedanta Sutra.
Yes, Vedanta Sutra, right. That's the first, yeah. Atato Brahma Jigyasa, first half, then Janmadyasya yata. And in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's also the beginning line. The original energy is exhibited in varieties, exactly as the sunshine, the original energy emanating from the sun, exhibits itself in variety as light and heat. One cannot say that light is heat or that heat is light, yet one cannot separate one from the other. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is a chintya bed abed, inconceivable non-separation and distinction. Although there is an affinity between the two physical manifestations, light and heat, there is also a difference between them. Similarly, although the whole cosmic manifestation is the Lord's energy, the energy is nevertheless exhibited in varieties of manifestations. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in that first line, if one is from the beginning of life is taught the Vaishnava philosophy, then the monistic philosophy will not bother him very much. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would benevolently criticize those from a what you call Hindu background, that they've become educated in hodgepodge. Not to take offense, but if everything is one, then it doesn't matter this or that. So then there's so many different philosophies. I think there was one Swami that they interviewed on a after he arrived in the United States. I don't know if I mentioned this example. So in New York, so he came off the plane and there was a reporter there to a famous, not an ISKCON Swami, it's other Swami, but anyway. So the reporter asked him to explain in a nutshell about Hinduism. So the Swami said, how many people are there in India now? So the reporter said, he had done some research. He said at that time, 800 million or something. So then the Swami said, so there are 800,000,001 kinds of Hinduism. That's what he said. So everything it goes, it's all, everything goes. I went to, you know, this Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Vishwa Hindu Parishad is a Hindu kind of national organization. And in the United States, they would run summer camps for kids to teach them this philosophy of modism. At least, and that was some idea of that. So anyway, I decided, because at that time I was organizing summer camps, and I thought, let me see how they do it, how their organization is. So I went there for a week, and they had an hour of philosophy every day. And so I was surprised that the teacher teaching the philosophy portion of the camp and during the camp was a Buddhist, and it was teaching Buddhism. So I asked the organizers, how is this? How is this that, you're Vishnu Hindu? And so they said, well, our definition of Hindu is anything that comes from India. That's our definition. So you can imagine what kind of hodgepodge might be. So they're teaching. I couldn't understand heads or tails of what the person was, and I was trying to understand. Most of the kids weren't even trying to understand. So anyway, so if there's a hodgepodge and we can't really understand it, well, at least with materialism we can understand it very nicely. Get money, enjoy your senses. That's very clear. If you try to understand a hodgepodge philosophy, it's not going to be effective. Better go for the materialism. At least that's the tendency. Thankfully, Lord Caitanya, even here in his early life as a child, is emphasizing the difference between Vaishnava philosophy and Mayavad philosophy. It's not all one. It's not all the same. All teachers don't explain the same, even if they're from India. Buddhist, Hindu, what? Comments, questions?
Still, that this concept, it's nice that you put everything comes from India is acceptable. So still, these concepts of hodgepodge is very, very prominent by the name of Hinduism at this time. But on the other hand, I would like to say that it's not very easy to understand in the truth, the tattva. It takes so much to really understand the Achintya Veda itself. Isn't it true?
Yes, and that's why right from the beginning, Lord Caitanya in his interactions with his mother is showing us a simple way to make this distinction. Right from the beginning. And, there's other manifestations of Mayavadi or materialistic philosophy that sometimes we find. It comes in many different varieties. But these simple examples are very helpful to help us keep on the right path and keep the right understanding. Thank you. Text 34.
এবে সেই জানিলাম আর মাটি না খাইব, ক্ষুধা লাগে যবে তবে তোমার স্তন পিব।
Now that I understand this philosophy, no more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I'm hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk. Okay.
এত বলি জননীর কোলেতে চড়িয়া স্তন পান করে প্রভু ঈষৎ হাসিয়া।
After saying this, the Lord, smiling slightly, climbed on the lap of his mother and sucked her breast. He no longer ate dirt.
এই মতে নানা ছলে ঐশ্বর্য দেখায়, বাল্যভাব প্রকটিয়া পশ্চাৎ লুকায়।
Thus, under various excuses, the Lord exhibited his opulences as much as possible in his childhood. And later, after exhibiting such opulences, he hid himself.
অতিথি বিপ্রের অন্ন খাইল 3 বার, পাছে গুপ্তে সেই বিপ্রে করিল নিস্তার।
On one occasion, the Lord ate the food of a Brahmin guest 3 times. And later, in confidence, the Lord delivered that Brahmin from material engagement. Purport. The story of the deliverance of this Brahmin is as follows. A Brahmin who was touring all over the country, traveling from one place of pilgrimage to another, reached Navadvip and became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra gave him all ingredients for cooking, and the Brahmin prepared his food. When the Brahmin was offering the food to Lord Vishnu in meditation, child Nimai came before him and began to eat it. And because of this, the Brahmin thought the whole offering had been spoiled. Therefore, by the request of Jagannath Mishra, he cooked for a second time. But when he was meditating, the child again came before him and began to eat the food, again spoiling the offering. By the request of Jagannath Mishra, the Brahmin cooked for a third time. But for a third time, the Lord came before him and began to eat the food, although the child had been locked within a room and everyone was sleeping because it was late at night. Thus, thinking that on that day, Lord Vishnu was not willing to accept his food and that he was therefore ordained to fast, the Brahmin became greatly agitated and cried aloud, "Hi, hi." How do you say that?
Hi, hi, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Do people still say that?
Yeah, when they want to exclaim
Hey,
for.
hey, hey, hey. And loudly you say, hey, hey.
Okay.
No,
We
when
said,
they
Prabhu,
hi,
hi re hi, hi re hi,
yeah.
hi
Heidi,
re
hi.
hi, hi re hi.
Okay. Heidi, hi ho. What has been done? What has been done? When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Brahmin in the agitated state, he told him, "Formerly, I was the son of Mother Jashoda. At that time, also, you became a guest in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I disturbed you in this way. I am very much pleased by your devotion. Therefore, I am eating the food you have prepared." Understanding the favor offered to him by the Lord, the Brahmin was greatly pleased, and he was overwhelmed with love of Krishna. He was thankful to the Lord, for he felt himself greatly fortunate. Then the Lord asked the Brahmin not to disclose the incident to anyone else. This pastime is very elaborately explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda, chapter 5. This is a nice, very nice pastime of Lord Chaitanya. I thought perhaps you have some observations about this pastime, looking at it or analyzing it a little bit. If you have any comments, please let me know before I make any comment. Anyone? Yes, Mother Shobharate.
One thing I was wondering is why he asked him not to reveal this pastime.
Oh, question. Yeah, that's a question. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't, especially in the early days, he wasn't exhibiting himself as fully. And in general, he was a covered incarnation. We know that. In the verse by describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by Prahlad Maharaj, he called him a Chan avatar, a covered incarnation. So that's one reason. I thought if we look at the verse, you see at the top, Atiti, Atiti. Here Srila Prabhupada translated it as guest. It's a particular kind of guest in my understanding, Atiti. You know, just like on certain days, Titi is a day, and Madhava Titis, you know, on special holidays, Janmashtami, Diwali, Govardhan Puja, etc. It's common that your family and friends come over to your house, isn't it? So that's those are titis on those Madhava Titi days. But when it's not such a titi and they're unexpected, that's atiti. Titi is unexpected guest. Yeah, so they came. They hadn't planned to come, but they came. So this Brahmin came, and it was interesting that that you know, you usually think your guest comes and you don't have the guest cook, you cook, isn't it? Isn't it usually? I mean, you could have the guest cook, but usually the guest. So in this case, for whatever reason, it's not mentioned here. Jagannath Mishra provided all the ingredients, all the for the cooking, but the Brahmin himself cooked for his deity that he was taking with him. Perhaps because that was his service, his duty, his vow to cook always for the pleasure of his Lord. So, you know, we have that verse, Yagya Shishtashina Santo Muchante Sarva Kilbishai Bhujante Te Tvagam Papa Ye Pachanti Atma Karanat. Devotees of the Lord, the Santas, they're always only eating food that's offered in sacrifice, Yagya Shishta. Muchante Sarva Kilbishai. And by doing so, they get free from all kinds of karma. Bhunjate te tvagam papa, but those who eat food just for sense gratification, they get a lot of sinful reaction. Just for their own satisfaction, not for the satisfaction of the Lord. So this prasadam, a very big part of Lord Chaitanya's activities, pastimes, and also the Hare Krishna movements. We were talking in that we were singing Kevala Ananda Kanda, that Krishna consciousness is completely joyful. That process delivered by Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu, and so including chanting, dancing, feasting, and also some philosophy. So it's a big deal in this right early in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes that he's doing these pastimes with the prasadam. So the Brahmin, he is very determined and serious in offering nice offerings to his Lord. And of course, if you've cooked an offering for Lord, it takes some effort. It's not just an easy thing. A few hours it takes to make a nice offering. So he did it once, but it was, he thought it was contaminated, spoiled, because Nimai, the little kid, came and ate from that offering while he was offering it in his mind, in his meditation. So that's why in our temples, usually we don't like to have little kids come into the kitchen, because they might go after the food, or they at least might try to enjoy it in their minds. But in this case, Nimai, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was just responding to the desires of his devotee. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhaktya prayachyati tadaham bhakti upahritam mashnami payatatmana. If you offer me with love and devotion these things, he'll accept it. Not just in theory, but really. And here he's doing it really, accepting the offering of the Brahmin. So this is a very nice experience here. So one other thing I thought of this pastime is that even though it's said that this, Lord Chaitanya said that in his previously he had done the same thing when the Brahmin visited the house of Nanda Maharaj. But I never read that pastime. Have you ever read that? I don't find it in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. Have you? Anyone? Do you follow what I'm saying?
The stealing of the food.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't find it in Srimad Bhagavatam. It might be in some Purana, but so from that you can say that there are other pastimes that maybe not even in the Srimad Bhagavatam that are existing. Do you follow? And of course, if Lord Krishna accepts your offering, then your life is greatly blessed. Is very so. How wonderful it is that he accepted the offering of the Brahmin, and how wonderful it would be if we make an offering, and our offering is accepted, either this way or in any way. When I used to work in the kitchen, serve in the kitchen in New York, and after we compared the offering and the plates went on the altar, we used to listen to a recording of Srila Prabhupada discussing offerings made to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, while the offering was going on. We'd listen to this, and he would say, I have no qualification. For years, I've been stealing. I've just been a thief, but now I have no qualification. You please accept this offering. This is all I have for you, please. And he spoke like that. It was very moving. I haven't been able to find that exact. It was a lecture in Veda base, but it was our regular practice to listen to that, to reinforce our understanding and remembering and seriousness about how great opportunity we have to offer bhog, our love and our offerings to the Lord. Oh. So this wasn't the only time it happened. In this way, it happens this way. And another time, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri, you probably know the situation is that sometimes his mother, Sachi, would be offering bhog to the deities there at their home. And in that case, even though Lord Chaitanya was in Puri at the time, he would go and eat the offering. In this case, it was spoiling. In that case, it's eating. And so then there was no food left. No. So Mother Sachi, thinking that he had, she had forgotten to cook, she decided she would cook again. Later, Lord Chaitanya informed her that this was he was doing that. But these are the activities of Krishna and his devotee involving the offerings of prasadam. Very, very important part of our service. Krishna likes that. Comments? You know, about 25 years ago, there was an incident or a bunch of incidents that happened. I think it was in the middle 90s. It was called the Miracle of the Milk.
Yeah.
You remember that? And actually, Sadaputta wrote a article about it in BTG. But on certain day, I think it was in September of the year, all of a sudden, I guess that's around Ganesh Chaturthi, they said that, you know, they were offering milk to the Ganesh deities, and then the milk was gone. It was being taken. You remember that?
Yeah.
So it was a phenomenon.
94 or 93 or 94.
Something like that, yeah. 93.
Whole India was trying to do after this. During that time, social media is not that strong, right? It's not there. No cell phones. I'm amazing how this news has spread all over India, and everybody's trying to do that. I was there also.
Oh, you were in India at that time, yeah.
I did that also.
Oh,
But
you did? Oh, did it work?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, anyway, it became popular, and then they had these people investigating, and then they had these different scientific explanations of what happened, and then they think, is it only going on with Ganesh? No, it's also going on with, you know, other kinds of deities. Also, Kali was involved, and then they also thought, oh, so not just the Hindu deities, but they had deities of the Mother Mary, the Christian deities that was also going on. Anyway. Can it happen? Yeah. Did it happen? I don't know. But Krishna here in this case, he's actually eating he says he will eat, and he's says he will eat, and he's doing what he says. And he will eat for you also if you offer it with care, love, prepare and offer it with care and love. He will do that. And if he does that, if he accepts your offering, then you're very, very, your advancement is very nice. When Srila Prabhupada was, there was one devotee named Bhadra. She was in charge of the kitchen in New York. So he said, he sent her a letter saying that, Srila Prabhupada sent a letter to her saying that if you continue to make these offerings, nice offerings to Lord Krishna, and you keep the kitchen very clean, those two things, he said, very soon you will attain the stage of bhava, he said. Okay.
চোরে লয়া গেল প্রভুকে বাহিরে পাইয়া, তার স্কন্দে চড়ি আইলা তারে ভুলাইয়া.
In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by two thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves, and while they were thinking they were safely carrying the child to rob his ornaments, the Lord misled them. And thus, instead of going to their own home, the thieves came back to the home of Jagannath Mishra. Purport. In his childhood, the Lord was profusely decorated with golden ornaments. Once upon a time, when the Lord was playing outside his house, two thieves passing on the street saw the opportunity to rob him. Therefore, they took him on their shoulders, pleasing him by offering him some sweetmeats. The thieves thought they would carry the child to the forest and then kill him and take away the ornaments. The Lord, however, expanded his illusory energy upon the thieves, so much so that instead of carrying him into the forest, they came right back in front of his house. When they came before his house, they became afraid because everyone from the house of Jagannath Mishra and all the inhabitants of that quarter were busy searching for the child. Therefore, the thieves, thinking it dangerous to remain, went away and left him. The child was brought within the house and given to Mother Sachi, who was in great anxiety, and she became satisfied. This incident is also very elaborately explained in the Adi Kanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat, 3rd chapter. So he foiled the thieves, thinking, they thought, oh, we'll take this advantage. We see this child with these ornaments. Doesn't say. There was another pastime with Lord Krishna and a thief. Do you remember that one? There was a thief that somehow came into the association of devotees and heard about Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and how he was decorated with different kinds of ornaments, golden ornaments. And so he got in his mind, well, he's just a little boy. I'll go there to Vrindavan and I'll get, when he's away from his mother, I'll capture him and take his ornaments. So he went to Vrindavan. And there he found Lord Krishna. And he said, you're very beautiful, but, I've come to take away to steal those ornaments. And Lord Krishna responded, oh, Mother Yashoda would not be happy with this. She would not be happy at all. Anyway, so they spoke back and forth. And finally, just by the association of Krishna, his heart was changed, purified, and he became a devotee of Krishna. So we don't see here that these thieves became Vaishnavas, at least not right away. But apparently the Lord was playing outside the house and nobody was around at that time. So they thought, oh, they'll grab him and rob him. But for sure, they were purified by their touch of the Lord and their thinking of the Lord, even if they had evil intentions, like Putana, because Krishna is all good. Any way you come in contact with Krishna is purifying. Just as the sun can purify even a urinal by its energies. So we in this life have the opportunity to be, even though we have so many sometimes unclean motives, by regular attendance in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Caritamrita classes, chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, associating with devotees, offering our food, then we can also make advancement in the spiritual path. Comments, questions on this one? Krishna Kirtan, you have a comment, no?
I missed this, but I had some clarification on Atithi you mentioned in the past. Yeah, you made the difference between Tithi and Atithi, and you gave auspicious time. Right. my understanding in Atithi is when we invite some guest, we certainly we must take care.
Yes.
Nice. And Atithi means even though someone shows up in Vedic culture uninvited,
Yes.
the duty of Grihastha to make sure that the Atithi, the uninvited guest, is taken care nicely. Otherwise, the conversation between Kashyap Muni and Devahuti,
Yes.
when Devahuti was not satisfied, it appeared like she's very much molest. So Kashyap Muni is asking, did you fail to take care of any Atithi? Like that.
Good point. Yeah.
So is that true? Right, Atithi
Yes. 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 It doesn't in the West. It doesn't so happen so much that we get many atitis, uninvited guests. In fact, they have people have beware of dog signs on their house, and no soliciting here, no all that stuff. But in India, that was more the system that the brahmacharis would sometimes go door to door, and Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and Haridas Thakur would go door to door as atitis, begging, please chant Hare Krishna. It's not as common here, but it does happen. Sometimes you have Jehovah's Witnesses come.
They're really
Atiti Deva.
humble. Yeah, Jehovah's Witness come. It needs in Western world, it needs a lot to become an Atithi in someone's house.
Yes, yes,
It's not the hosting. It's like going as an Atithi is like a very needs a lot. Going for books or asking them to chant Hare Krishna or for anything, they may not open the door also.
well, they may shoot you.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. So yeah, a little dangerous.
Thank you for the clarification. That's what I want to check.
Yeah, it's good, good. Okay, I think that we're good here. We'll be good. Text 39 for next time.
Okay.
Thank you all. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. The Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare
Thank you, Vishnugada.
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vishnugada Prabhu.